Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Board Game Barbecue podcast. This is episode 314, brought to you by Advent Games and our Patreons. I'm your host, Dana Banana, and I'm joined by fellow Brisbaneite, Adrian. How are you going, Adrian?
Doing? Yeah, good. Apart from my back, it's back. But other than that, I'm good. Yeah. But
and we're also joined by Connor in another dimension because of daylight saving.
Yeah, that's right.
And welcome, Connor.
That's good. I'm talking to you from the future, but it's like not a cool future. It's like just an hour ahead. You guys are stuck in the past.
Poor old Adrian is sitting there and he looks decrepit. Yes. If only you could all see, but he doesn't look good.
Yeah, I just got to lean my head forward, but I'll be fine. I often lean my head forward, so there's no real difference. So it's all good.
You look like you've been 10 rounds, mate. Like, did you pick up the boxing?
I think it was like 25 rounds of Overwatch until 3 o'clock in the morning with you. That's done it.
Yeah. So that's my fault, is it?
Exactly your fault.
You were the one that's like, hey, want to play? And then it just escalated. I think we started at like 8 o'clock. We played like 6 hours of Overwatch.
It's true. The thing is, it's basically like gambling. It's like the pokies. It's like I can't leave here without a win. And if you don't get a win for 10 games, it's all of a sudden been like almost 3 hours. Like I should have left this a long time ago.
Food? Do you break for food or... Oh, my God, that's
I have to listen to Conor graze.
6 hours.
I have to listen to Conor graze like a dog eating hot chips. Like, for the whole thing. It's so good. Like you go, what are you eating now? And he's like, biscuits.
It was popcorn and Red Rippers last night. That's what I was having. And then I had a Maxi Bomb as well.
Yeah. We both ice creamed up. We were like, we'd lost so many. We were like, get an ice cream.
So I'm assuming, Adrian, this is your phase because you said your weight goes up and down.
Yeah.
So this is the up phase.
100%.
Yeah.
100% up or like only?
At least.
Yeah. Well, I hate to tell you, it's going to get worse next weekend.
PAX, of course.
You've already promised me to have a Grimace shake together, so we better do that.
Fill me in. What's a Grimace shake?
No, I'll have to tell. So our friend Tom, who we talk about on the podcast a bit, we were playing Baldur's Gate together, and he goes, "Guys, I've got big news." And I was like, "Oh, like what could it be?" Like I was thinking, he goes, "The Grimace shake is back." And so the Grimace shake is just a purple shake at McDonald's. So I was like, that's it. Because like we have this thing where like we always have 5 guys because there's 5 guys on South Bank. And it's sort of been a thing that me and Adi have done and Dan did last year. And Joe was there too before he joined the show. And I was like, all right, we got to add to it every year. So I think this year's going to be like we need to have a Grimace shake together. I don't even know what flavour it is. I think the flavour is just purple.
Purple. It's purple flavour.
So what? Okay.
It could be Gengar. It could be boysenberry. Great. Who knows? Yeah.
It's actually been a pretty big week for you, Adrian, because you're a business owner.
I am indeed. I quit my job and had to then do 2 jobs for a couple of weeks. And yeah, it's kind of scary because if work doesn't come in, I'm screwed. But I'm happier in a weird way. It's a bit of it'll be intense for a couple of months, I'm sure, but work seems to already be picking up for me, which is great.
Yeah.
It's been good. It's been really, really interesting setting that all up, and that's kept me very, very, very busy, hence my absence in Discord and stuff recently. But I'm looking forward to it.
Can I ask your business name?
For tax purposes, I'm not allowed to mention it on this podcast, but I'm sure if anyone wants to know, I'll let them know later.
I don't even know if that's a real thing, but
I actually don't think it's a real thing either. But anyway,
the class is advertising, and you got to say.
I think so. I think I have to pay someone for that.
Yeah, okay. So you haven't been playing any games. You've been working.
I have played a few games, and I'm looking forward to playing a bunch of games tomorrow at Hague's, which will be good, I'm sure, because he always has lots of crazy different games that I don't usually get to play because he loves those kind of area control-y type games.
Yeah.
We end up playing a few of those. I played Lords of Hellas, or
Yep.
what's the
Hellas.
other? What's the Ragnarok one? Is it Lords of Ragnarok?
Lords of Ragnarok. Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played that with him and stuff as well, like quite a while ago. But I quite enjoyed that. We might get to play that again. And games like Black Rose Wars and things like that I don't get the opportunity to play. So looking forward to it.
Does MJ tends not to like those games, does she? Those sort of fighty battler games.
We just don't pick them up. Do you know what I mean? So it's never really been something that we've really delved into, and we play a lot two-player. So I always find that area control games like that, they just don't sing it to. So I'm happy just to give them a miss and have the opportunity to play someone else's crazy $500 Black Rose Wars Kickstarter on their dime.
Looking at you, Jules. Looking at you.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. What about you, Connor? What have you been doing?
So we had the Melbourne Game Day at the Coburg Gaming Arena, or the Gaming Arena in Coburg, and this place is really cool. So it's a dedicated gaming place. I believe one of our frequent visitors to our game day, Brendan, was telling me the weekend before they had like the Warhammer Pacific Championships there. So they've got all these big sort of gaming tables that, we have had lots of these events that we've run at non-dedicated gaming venues. So they had massive, big square tables you could fit some of the really big games on. Dana, you're going to talk about Andromeda's Edge a little bit later. You can talk about how big it is.
Oh my God.
Fit easily, like with more space. Like it was so good. These big square ones that they normally play Warhammer on. And then they had trestle tables that were a little bit wider as well. So you could fit some games on there. But yeah, it was really good. It was great to see some people that we hadn't seen since PlayCon, that we hadn't seen since the last Melbourne Game Day, because we hadn't run one since, I want to say, February or March back at Preston. So yeah, really thought it was an awesome venue to run it in. The staff were fantastic, and it was just a bit of a different vibe running it somewhere like that was a dedicated gaming section, and having, like, it is a bit different when you're not having the RSL. You sort of got these regular patrons coming in and be like, oh, what's going on here? And you're not really spreading the name of the event or the podcast around. So it was nice to have it in a dedicated spot. But yeah, played a few games. I got to play Dropalter that Emily talked about from Shut Up and Sit Down with Mike. So we played some Dropalter, and we actually invited Anton, one of the staff, over to come and play, and Anton ended up winning, even though he came in like halfway through. So that was really cool. But it was just nice to sort of see everyone again, to run those game days, and I forget how much fun they are. Like, we had PlayCon, and people had come. Oh, forgive me, I've forgotten their names. I'm really sorry. So I do apologise, but people that had been to PlayCon and hadn't been to one of our game days before, and I was like, oh, well, this is kind of like PlayCon, but, a little bit more low-key. Like, we're not going to have 500 people come to the doors. We're not going to be having, Ian O'Toole or Sam McDonald and Bobby Hill running Q&A sessions.
Just you.
Like that. Just me. Who knows?
What more do you need? What more do you need?
Hashtag disappointment.
Hashtag definitely addict and not expert, like proper, Do you even know what a board game is? No. So that was really good fun.
I saw you actually on the background of a PlayCon video recently. Yeah.
In the background.
On like a promotional video. And you walk in the background and then you do the international sign for "what a drink," like in the background. I'm in the background like thumbing it up. So it made me laugh so hard.
Experts, we have sales, we have drunkards. Like, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, there you go.
The photos of that place look awesome. It looked really cool. Had you ever heard of it before or seen it before?
I only had because our friend Gene, he runs the Coburg Gaming Group, and they had run events there. So he sort of put us in contact a little bit, or Joe had noticed that they were running it, and I think Joe might have been to one of the events or had seen pictures. I was like, this place looks great. We'll see if we can get in. And yeah, they did. And the other amazing thing is, so shout out to them, because they actually had a Magic the Gathering pre-release event. So they were releasing the new set of cards that were coming out. They had it on the Friday, hosted us on the Saturday and then had it again on the Sunday. So they actually gave up one of their days that they would have got a lot of business from their regulars to have us in there. So, yeah, I mean, we probably had quite a few come in. Like we said, we had 150 people come through. So I don't know if they would have had more or the same of that on the Saturday for the Magic pre-release. But yeah, one of the games I got to play, and Dana, you questioned what I was saying and how I phrased it. I finally got to punch it off my card. I'm a proper gamer now. Was Concordia. So I'd never played Concordia before, and Cindy taught it to me. Oh, and yeah. I know. And I remember talking to Mitch, and he goes, I bet you would never have played that game because of how the cover looks. And I was like, yep, you're 100% right, because it doesn't look
No, the artwork is not great.
Yeah.
It's very dated.
Yeah. But I loved the game where you're playing the cards and the fact that your cards that you're scoring at the end, being able to, plan your turn out to be like, okay, I'm going to build and move so far and then be able to build in multiple locations. And even the trading of the goods, I liked saying that you can have any amount or buy or sell any amount of only 2 goods. And I was like, that's so clever, because it really makes you think, okay, what goods do I need to be able to make my next turn? I can buy as many as I want with the money, and money's super tight, but you can't buy everything. And I really like that choice. I also like the fact that when you're buying cards for moves, that then adds to your scoring at the end. So even though you're using a resource to buy those cards and potentially using a turn to buy those cards, you still have payoff in the end for it. And I think that's really important, because in lots of games, you buy the cards, and then if you're not efficient with your turns, the cards leave you with nothing at the end of the game. I think that's a really cool mechanic that I think other games have used as well. And I guess it might not have started in Concordia, but it definitely, it's what kick-started it, really.
That game, actually, when I play it, I always find that I forget about the cards and that they score, and I'm actually more focused on building out onto the map and trying to expand, because I think, I don't know how many houses you have, 14 or 16 or something like that, and I'm just trying to expand. And by that stage, someone's already cottoned on to the fact that I'm just going to keep buying these cards. I end up sort of getting left behind a little bit. So
I sort of worked out, when I say I worked it out, it does not mean that I will be any better the second time I play it or whatever. But sometimes the way I try and work out how to play games is, it's almost like you understand the first layer, which is, okay, what's a good move, what's a good card to get, and then the second layer is then making your moves tie into the cards that you've bought, and then playing that next section. So it's almost like, I understand this bit, and I've made some good and efficient turns. The next bit then is to make the cards match my moves and then have the scoring from there. So I thought, this game definitely, I can see why it's so highly regarded. Let's put it that way. And at the moment, I would never say no to playing it a second time.
It's very smooth, a very smooth game.
Yeah. We played it 4-player, I think. And actually, it did not take super long. It honestly didn't, for a 4-player game, and it's sort of a medium weight Euro, sort of medium, like I would say, it's definitely not heavy.
Yes,
it's a medium, large medium type Euro.
It's very good that they have different maps, like they have a 2-player map as well, so that it can be a little bit tighter. Have you played it, Adrian? It actually,
no,
I don't know. I imagine you and MJ might like it.
No, I've never.
It as a 2-player.
It's one of those ones that's also eluded me. I just haven't played it. I've never had the opportunity. So
I actually went to a different game day, not one of our own. I haven't been to one of ours, since before PlayCon in Brisbane anyway. And I went to, and I think they run them in every state, but it's an Are You OK game day. I don't know if you've ever been to one before, but anyway, they run one in Brisbane, and it's quite nice actually, just going to a game day and being a gamer as opposed to, volunteering or doing something like that. So it was great, and it's for a good cause. But I really noticed it's got a really different vibe, which is perfect for what it is. It was very low key. It was quite quiet, which was really good for something that promotes mental health and everything like that. So it was really good. I got to play a game that I watched played at PlayCon, and I thought, I have to do that, and I'm going to do it this time. I really want to do it. Did you see Daniel at PlayCon running games of Captain Sonar?
Yes.
At PlayCon.
Yes. It was like a big event type thing, and he was almost role-playing the way he was going about it.
It just kept, I think they played like 4 games back to back. I just thought that looks so cool, and I've never been able to play the game, of course, because you need 8 players, and when do you ever have 8 players wanting to play Battleship? There are a couple of people that come to our Brisbane game days called Nathan and his daughter Grace, and they brought along their copy of Captain Sonar, which they bought after playing a game at PlayCon. They loved it so much. That is a fascinating experience to play with 4. I mean, I knew some of the people that were playing in this game, but it was, getting 8 people together who've probably got different gaming experiences, different personalities, trying to get these people to communicate in a team and work together in a team is quite challenging. There was like a husband and wife on the same team, and I think they were going to slap each other at one point. It was really quite funny, and I don't know if you've ever seen it played, but I'll just a little bit about it. So it's 8 players, and it's 2 teams of 4, and the game comes with like a big screens that you can put in between so that you're not looking at each other's map. And it's basically Battleship the game, but there's a little bit more to it than that. So you've got 4 positions. You've got like the captain, the first mate, the radio operator, and the engineer. And the captain's calling out, head north, head west, head south, whatever. And he's marking his, like on a dry erase board, he's marking his position or where he's going. And there are some caveats in this game when you're moving, because obviously you're trying to hide your position from the opposing team. And of course, the opposing team are listening to you as you're talking. Everything's open. When you're doing your directions, you are not allowed to backtrack on your path. So you have to be careful of that. And the map actually has like little rocky areas, so you're not allowed to cross over those. So you have to be quite careful that you don't get stuck in a corner somewhere that you actually can't move. So the captain's calling out these commands, and at the same time, you've got the radio operator sitting next to you, next to the captain, and the radio operator is listening to what the other team's captain are saying. They've got to sort of block out all the other chatter and just listen to what they're saying. And you've got a little piece of plastic that goes over the top of the map, and you're plotting what they're saying, even though you don't know where they started. You're plotting what they're saying onto your map, and you're moving around this piece of plastic trying to work out where they could be on this map, and you're trying to relay that to the captain. In the meantime, the captain is trying to listen to the first mate and the radio operator. And each direction that you go, the captain cannot just go in one direction for a long time. You have to sort of spread it out, because otherwise certain parts of the submarine go offline and can't be used. And if that happens, you have to surface, and unfortunately the other team then get an advantage because they get to understand where you are. This game is a once in a lifetime experience.
It's definitely a masterpiece. It's so clever.
It is so clever. It's amazing. And even when you get like a time penalty, for example, there's a bit of like a part of the map has got like these areas where you've got to trace around it, and this is how you get a time penalty. And you pass it to each player to draw around these shapes. Then you have to show it to the opposing team to say that you didn't go outside the lines. If you went outside the lines, you have to redo it. So all this is happening simultaneously between the 2 teams. There are times when you have to stop mid-game, like if a captain says stop and he goes sonar, someone will have to say what sector they are in. There's another thing as well where you give two pieces of information. One must be false, one must be true. Man, it is just amazing. I just loved it. And I'm hoping, Nathan said he maybe talked into teaching, like having a go at this at the Brisbane game day, he and his daughter teaching it. So if you get a chance to play a real-time game like this, it really is special.
Connor and I have played the family version, basically like the My First Captain Sonar, because we're not intelligent enough to play the other one. And I was getting yelled at by my teammate, and so were you getting yelled at by your teammate during that game. And I can't handle getting yelled at by three of my teammates at the same. Like, it was enough with one person. I think I did disappoint my teammate quite a lot because I was very confused. I think we won. Did I win?
I think you guys won. Yeah, you guys won because we've surfaced when we shouldn't have. Because in the junior one, what happens is it's less complicated, but it's meant to be played with only two. Or it might just be like a different
4, isn't it? 2 and 2.
Yeah, two teams of 2.
Yeah, two teams of 2, and you just moving generates the power for you to use your missiles, for you to use your sonar or your torpedoes, your sonar, and all that type of stuff. And you still have to surface. But it was tense, and we're like, oh my god, and you're sort of looking, going, do the thing, and I saw Daniel running it at PlayCon, and like I said, he was role playing, like, and now you must fire, you must do this, and he was just like, and just running it like the same way. It gave me the same vibes as like when Mike runs Mafia. He would run these Mafia games, and that's what Daniel was like. I was like, if I didn't have so much other stuff we were doing at PlayCon, like all of us put in the same boat, I would have loved to have jumped into one of those games. But yeah, it's definitely fun, and I have certain tells when I'm stressed, as Adrian probably found out when we're playing games online together, that I do certain things and potentially use language that isn't acceptable in the general public.
Any environment.
I have to be, maybe in Malmesbury, the prison I used to work in, but that's that's my only thing with those games is,
what's your tells? What are they? Because I know the only thing I know is that you have a tendency to walk away from the table.
It's the third ice cream. It's the third ice cream. You tell he's sad. You can tell he's not having a good time. We go, get an ice cream. Another one? Yes.
Yeah, another one, yes. My voice goes high, all those types of things. Yeah. It's
really?
It's fun. It's fun for other people. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun for everyone watching and playing along.
I have got to see this. That's going on video on PlayCon.
I actually find it a bit sad because sometimes when you get very upset, all I hear is Joe. He doesn't laugh at you. He actually almost sniggers at you at your stress level. I'm like, that doesn't help. That's not helping him. That's really harsh.
I get so insular that I don't notice those things. I just But I would love to play the full version with, and I think you're right, Dana. It can be a little bit daunting, I'd imagine, if you're playing it with people that you don't know or you don't know how they're going to react to your mistakes. I know playing with you guys, if someone made a mistake, we'd all get stuck into each other, whatever, and it'd all be good fun. But especially in something like the game day, and I imagine something like an Are You OK Day that's supposed to be promoting mental health and safe spaces and all that type of stuff. The way that I would act towards people may not, be reciprocated in a particular way. So I'm definitely keen to play it. I'm definitely keen to see it with the play at the max, because playing it at 2 was a lot of fun, but boy howdy, it was stressful.
You can actually play it at the full version at 6. It's just that someone, and I can't remember who it is, but someone does 2 jobs. One of the roles goes into 2, so you can actually play it at 6. So yeah. Cool. But you can also play it not in real time. You can play it as a turn-based game as well. I think that would be a bit lame.
That would kill it, I think.
Yeah, I think it has to be played in real time.
Yeah, you need that chaos.
You might do it to learn it, to learn it or something.
You need
like
that chaos, right? And it feels more like a submarine.
I think you then have that whole thing of not necessarily an alpha gamer, but someone going, oh, hold on. They were there then and now they're there. Let's try and work out where they couldn't be, as opposed to it being short. And that's part of it, because if you're thinking of it thematically, if you're on a submarine and you're in submarine combat, not that I've ever been in submarine combat, but I'd imagine that it's a bit like, we got to make these decisions pretty quickly. Like, we can't just hang around and, math it out. Like, there's going to have to be decisions that need to be made. So I think you're right, Aid. Like, having it...
Just to confirm, playing with your rubber ducky in the bath does not constitute submarine combat, no matter what anyone says.
And
you're letting lots of people into my private life.
I've got notes, mate. I've got pages of notes.
I'm interested. I've not seen any of this other than the where you have a dummy spit and you walk away from the table. I've not seen anything. So I'm going to have to keep an eye out on it. But then, so you've got this game, which is Chaos, and then, Connor, you've been playing a game like, what is it, Conservis?
Conservis. So this is a solo game. I actually got put onto it thanks to Dan, and I hadn't heard of it. And then Dan was like, "Yeah, I'm playing this solo bag builder, so Conservis." I only played a couple of rounds, so I played a bit of a learning round, take back type thing, and then I was like, "No, I'll go the whole hog." So the way it works is it's booklet. And the booklet's broken up into 12 months, and you play a month on each page. And then as you go on, they get a bit more complicated. And depending on the month will be the type of fish that you will fish out of the bag. And a Conservis, I believe, I probably should have looked this up. So I think it's either Spanish or Portuguese, but it's effectively the canning process that they go through in order to save the fish that they fish, because not everything can be used then and there. So it's a process of canning these fish, but also doing it sustainably. So when you delve into your bag, you must place these discs, and some of them are open water. So that's kind of like the wastage. You can't have everything that's, in order for it to be a game, you can't just keep pulling out handfuls of fish. So you have this open water, and then you also have these fish tokens. And depending on how many ships you have, and then how many the capacity of that ship will determine how many of these tokens you can put on your ship. And what you do is you have an open water section. Then you have as many ships as you've bought. And as the game goes on, you can buy more and more ships. But what then happens is that you place fish or open water tokens onto your ship. And then from there, what happens is, depending on what you want to do, you will either sell the fish to be canned, and that then makes your money. And then after that, you can then, rather than sell the fish as canned or in order to be money, you can either upgrade your ship. And upgrading your ship, or not so much your ships, but just upgrading effectively like your company. And these will give you bonuses. And one of them I'll explain in a moment because I found it really handy. So when you pull a handful of tokens out of the bag, it'll either be open water or fish tokens. And depending on your strategy and what you want to do, you obviously don't want to overfish the ocean. So you might wish to place only a couple of fish on your ship. The other thing that you will want to do is then place fish back into the ocean, including the open water, because what that does is, for once you have a pair of fish, every other fish after that initial pair, so including that initial pair, will give you an extra fish to put into the bag for the next week.
Oh, the breeding.
Yes, it's like the breeding. So in my playthrough, so I just played through January, I had anchovies and scallops. So the scenario would have been, I would delve into the bag. You're always grabbing 5 discs out. It might have been 3 fish, so like 2 anchovies, or 2 sardines, sorry, not anchovies, 2 sardines and a scallop, and then 2 water tokens. So I'd be like, okay, I want to make sure that there's going to be sardines or anchovies the next turn. So I'm going to place one of them in the open water section or in the depths of my card. The rest of the tokens I'm going to put onto my ship. And then as long as I have another anchovy/sardine or whatever you're fishing along with it, you would then place those tokens back in, and then another one as well. So it acts as the breeding. Because what you have to do at the end of in order for you to achieve the goal, and there's 2 goals, there's a standard and a difficult goal, you must then make sure that not only do you have the correct amount of money, but you need to have a certain number of each type of fish in your bag, because the whole idea is for it to be a conservation. So you're conserving them and all that type of stuff. So it's really, really good. Like I said, I've only played through January after playing a bit of a learning game. It's really simple. I don't know how much Dan's played, so Dan might have played a bit more than me. I know he was playing it a couple of weeks ago. And a funny story is that I was so excited to order it, and Dean can verify this, that I double-clicked my order and I ordered 2 copies from Dean.
I've done that so many times.
I know. I ordered 2 copies of Dean, so I quickly emailed him saying, hey, man, I was super excited about Conservice and I might have ordered a second copy. And he was like, yeah, I noticed that. That was kind of weird that you ordered 2 copies of that. Thing is, it's a solo game and you don't really play it like with other people. I don't know why you'd buy 2 copies of any game really, like unless you're buying for someone else. And he's like, yeah, no drama. So yeah, Conservice, really, really cool. Great little solo bag builder, super quick. And I could imagine you can get a lot out of it.
It certainly looks very pretty on the table, the photos that I've seen of it. It looks very, very pretty.
And all the ships have, so whether it's Spanish or Portuguese names, and they also have some of them have pun names as well, so it's quite cool. But yeah, I've quite enjoyed it. Can't wait to get it back on the table. And I could imagine it's one of those games, if you're like Mitch and playing games at work, be one that you just take with you to work, put it down, and it could play like a bit of a beat your score type situation if you wanted to, as long as you achieve the goal. But I could also imagine they could add to it pretty easily as well if they wanted to have some expansions.
So we're all at PAX next week.
Yes.
What games are we looking forward to playing the most? Is there anything that sticks out to you guys? So go for it.
I'll go first. I've already signed up to a couple of demo games. I'm actually really excited about PAX because I feel like this is just my first big convention. I know we had PlayCon and everything, but it's just so exciting for me. And being in Melbourne as well, it's going to be awesome.
It's also different because you mentioned it before, like going to a game day that someone else hosts where you don't have to think about anything. You can just cruise in and play things and you're not, you got no responsibilities, right? Whereas PlayCon was a lot of responsibilities. So for this, it's nice because you're going to get to play a lot of different games and you're not going to have to do so much of the administration side of things behind the scenes. So it'll be different.
Yeah, that's right. So I have signed up to a couple of games, but I wouldn't mind trying, and this is completely out of my normal realm, but I wouldn't mind trying some of these LCGs not LCGs, TCGs, sorry. Altered?
Yeah, I don't know great. I've played that on BGA. That is heaps of fun. It's so good. It's totally different to a traditional TCG where it's like a battler.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd happily play that with you, Dan. I think you'd really enjoy it.
But what is it? What is it? If it's not a battler, what is it?
You trying to push your token up to a particular spot and also trying to resist your opponent from pushing a token up to a particular spot. It's almost like an engine builder.
Yeah.
So
it's a little bit Lorcanery in that regard where you do attack people, but you're trying to get a point score. You're trying to get to a score destination.
That's probably a really good comparison to make, 80, is it's similar to Lorcana where you're trying to get to a particular point of points rather than I'm trying to reduce your health to 0.
Yeah.
So I really want to try that. And the other one that I'm looking at and I'm tempted to try, and I think, Adrian, you already signed up for it, is Dead Cells.
Yeah, I was going to say Dead Cells too.
Yeah. It's just something really different. It's just such a good opportunity for me to play something so different to what I normally would play. But I don't know if you know more about it. I actually don't know a lot about it.
Well, that's why I signed up for it as well, because I don't usually play those kinds of games. And I know that looking through Aftergame, because you can see all these PAX games through Aftergame, that had one space left at that table. So I was like, I'll snaggle that and I'm sure it'll be fun. And yeah, a couple of the people from the community are actually there as well, which I found out, which is pretty cool. There's also a game called Compile, which is a 1v1 game. But I am terrified to sign up because I know what will happen. I'll sit down at the table and my opponent will be like someone that's got a professor in molecular mathematics and the quantum realm or something. And I'll just be like, he'll take 4 turns and be like, oh, well, I've appeared to have won.
Yeah,
I'll just crawl back to my cave in Brisbane. Like, no, I'm just a bit nervous about that. Sitting down next to someone going head to head that I don't know, I'm just a bit, it's not my thing, you know.
That's when you'd be a gracious host, even though you're not hosting, you'd be
Flip the table.
Well, it's nice that I let that person win. That's always what I go with. Oh, yeah. Why did you score so poorly? Don't you know this game? Oh, but I was teaching. It's a lot of it's only so much mental bandwidth that I can. Never mind, I never win. So
I had the same thought as you with Compile, because believe it or not, I have not played SkyTeam. I have not played it. But they've got demos there, and I see a few that have got just one person signed up, and I thought, oh God, what about if the person that I sign up with is sort of like someone that's probably not compatible to me or whatever it could be.
You should sign up. That's a really cruisy game. There would be no stress in that. Because it's a co-op game, so even though you're kind of silent and you're not allowed to talk or communicate, it's still pretty chill. Mm-hmm. Whereas looking at someone in their eyes while they're taking moves that are screwing me out of the game, I don't think I would handle it too well.
If I play Altered and I like it, will it cause me to spend a lot of money? Is it that kind of game?
That depends. Are you visiting the Lorcana stand while you're there? Because that thing takes up like a quarter of the venue space. That is massive.
Oh my God.
So
I've already set aside room in my luggage for all the Lorcana I'm going to buy 80.
Yeah. I'm definitely, look, as a person that had it at the start and hasn't added to it, I'm still I need to check this out, because if there's really good cards, I want to get involved and get back into it, because I really enjoyed it. And now that I know it has a solo mode, I would definitely be more interested in trying to try it out more. So,
is that only something that's come in recently, the solo mode?
It didn't have it with the base game. I think there was an Ursula expansion, and I think you'd taken on Ursula, and I believe that opens it up for in the future they can add other bosses and other AI or whatever that has different kind of statistics and different stats and different mechanics behind it, which would be great, almost like Marvel Champions kind of a thing, where you have different abilities and different things to fight. So
that's what I was going to say. If they would have learned anything from Marvel Champions, Arkham Horror, I'm trying to get other sort of not competitive, cooperative games, card games. It's that once you have a particular engine going for that type of stuff, or you've got the scaffold up, you can just add to it and people will buy it. Because if there's anything that's more popular than Marvel, it's Disney in general. And that's just gone gangbusters.
But so are you guys signed up to anything other than, you're playing Dead Cells, Adrian? Are you signed up to anything, Connor?
I'm signed up for Dead Cells as well. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're going to be doing a Dead Cells podcast. It'll be a Dead Cells sizzle.
Yeah.
You're not in my game, though, I don't think, Con, right? So I'm sure there's other seats in Connor's game that you can jump in and harass him.
Yeah, great. So. Just do Adrian a favour and get me as cross as possible, so Adrian has to deal with me.
He'll be cross because he'll look over the room at me and do the international sign for, do you want a drink?
No, can you get me a third ice cream? That's what I'm about.
3 ice creams. Do the symbol for 3 ice creams.
You know that anywhere I go, any event, because I'm doing social media, I have a camera with me all the time. And actually, I've been thinking about doing a little gag reel of you, Connor, at some point.
Just me? Just me?
I've got some little snippets of you. I just need a few more.
No.
So Pax might just bump it up so that I could make a little gag reel. But there's some little funny moments there that I've got of you. You probably don't remember.
I remember doing the stupid PlayCon sign spin. Is that part of it?
Oh, no, there's others. There's others.
God.
There's other things as well. So, yeah. Hi there, it's Dana Banana from the Board Game Barbecue. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll know that I love a new board game smell. So when I'm in need of a new aroma, the best place to go is to head to Advent Games. They have a huge range of games from pre-orders to in-stock games. Actually, I don't think there's a store that can match their variety. Dean, the owner, is fantastic, and if I'm after a particular game, he's always so responsive. So if you're after a new board game smell, make sure you go to adventgames.com.au. So I would like to hear about Faraway from you, Connor, because I have played it probably once, maybe twice, but everyone I speak to loves this game.
Yes, and you can add me to that list of people who love this game. So this is my sizzle for today. So Faraway is by Penosaurus Games, and it was taught to me actually by Adrian at PlayCon. Adrian taught it to myself and Dan. This game is very, very simple at its core, but is an absolute brain burner if you're trying to get Adrian. I don't know if Adrian's in pain from his back or if he's thinking about this game, because
both.
The whole premise of the game is you're effectively playing it in reverse. And what I mean by that is that the scoring cards that you put down, you will unveil them in the opposite order that you place them. And the reason why this game works is because in most cases, these scoring cards, you will need to effectively unlock or hit their scoring conditions based on different symbols that you need to have achieved previously, or effectively put them down later in the run. So the way the game works is, it's pretty straightforward in what you're doing. You will have 3 cards in your hand, and there will be, depending on the player count, there will be however many players there are plus 1 of these cards in the middle. And on your turn, you're simply placing a card down. Now, after you place your first card, you need to make some decisions, because after you place your first card, if you place a card whose value, I'm just going to use value, there's no value in terms of, this card is better or worse, but there are values in the corner. And if your value is higher than the previous card that you put down, you will then get to go search for a sanctuary. And I'll explain what sanctuaries are in a moment. The other thing that works with this game is, while you want your cards to be higher sequentially, if you put a card down that's lower, you will get first dibs for the cards that's in the middle, which is how you then find the cards you need afterwards. So I'll explain the anatomy of one of the cards so maybe it makes sense a bit more. So on your card, you will have the value, which will be in the top corner, and it will be either a day or a night card. Now, this day or night will help you score particular cards. What you'll also have in the top right-hand corner is the symbols that the card provides. Now, these symbols, in most cases, will be used to effectively unlock or achieve certain scoring conditions of cards. So there's this sort of like blue, like looks like a puzzle icon, like a little pineapple. There's something, I can't remember it, but it looks like a little bullhead. I think there's only 3 symbols. I think there's only 3 symbols that you have.
I think there might be 3 or 4.
You can also get a map which lets you find more sanctuaries. And like I said, I'll explain what they are a little bit later. When you're placing these cards down, effectively, the first card that you place down, you want to have achieved all of the scoring conditions by the time you've placed down your 8th card. But that's all well and good, because sometimes, as my niece Audrey found out, you don't get those symbols that you need. So, for example, it might be worth 20 points to you on this particular card, but you need to have had 4 of these blue symbols. And poor Audrey, she delved into that sanctuary deck. She had lots of cards, couldn't find one blue symbol, and it was devastating for her. It pretty much cost her the win. So as you're going along, you're playing these cards. So like I said, I'll go on and explain the sanctuary section now. So once you've placed your card, if your card has a higher sequential value than the previous card you placed, you can then go and search for what's called these sanctuary cards. These smaller cards. And if you have placed a map as well, then you can then grab however many maps you have, you can add that to your hand. Now, you can only ever play 1 sanctuary. Now, what these sanctuaries are is they're effectively bonuses that are active for your entire run. Now, why this is important, I'll explain in a moment. But effectively, these are active the whole time. And They could also provide extra scoring. So you might get a card that gives you 1 point for each pineapple that you have on your cards, and so on and so forth. Now, these sanctuary cards that score, they score at the very end of the game, so after the run. So you've played through, you've grabbed your sanctuary cards, you've placed down your 8 cards. Some of them are going to be in sequential order. Some of them are not, because you might not want that card to be in sequential order because you want a particular card to activate first. Then, and this is what Adrian, I don't know if it's in the rule book, but I think it's a good way of doing it. Once you have had your 8 turns, and so what you do then is once you've placed your card, you get to take a card from the middle and then replenish your hand. So you've always got a choice of 3. Once everyone has placed their 8 cards, and you place cards, not all 8 at once, but you place cards down simultaneously. So another thing that we did is we placed them face down and then flipped them so that people couldn't see what their values were. So like if us 3 were playing together, I could be like, oh, Dana put down a 54 and I want to go first, so I'm going to put down an 18. Like, you're not supposed to know that. After you've played your 8 cards, what you then do, and like I said, this is something that Adrian taught us, you flip down all of your cards except for the last card that you played. Now, that card will score. Depending on the requirements of that card, that card might score 0. So, for example, if you needed a certain number of these symbols, the pineapple, the bull's head, it's not a bull's head, it's like it's
like a cow's head with the horns.
It's a flower, like it's a particular, like a Taurus something.
Yeah.
It's got a cool name. Or these little cool blue puzzle symbols. If you don't have them on that particular card when it flips, that card will not score. So you've been planning this whole time, hopefully, to get the most out of your cards by the time that you flip that last one. As you go on, you might effectively have unlocked other cards that will score based on the symbols that are present on the previous cards that have flipped. So this whole idea that your first card that you played will be the last card that scores, this is what ties the whole game together. Now, what you also have to assist you are these sanctuary cards. Like I said, some of these sanctuary cards will also count for colors because some cards will score color. But again, if you don't have enough colors, by the time that card scores nothing. So you might have, this card scores 2 points for every blue card that you have, or 1 point for every blue or red card you have. But at that point, if you haven't flipped over any blue or red cards, it doesn't score anything. So what it allows you to do is plan forward turns, you're planning forward for these turns. But it is so good. And I remember explaining it. So I taught it, and we played a couple of times with my sister and my 2 nieces who came up for a couple of days this last school holidays. And I said, just let me explain it. It's going to do your head in, even though it sounds really simple, because that's pretty much what Adrian told me when he taught it to us. And I was like, it'll do your head in. I think this game is so much fun. It's so quick, and it just that whole backwards to go forwards, or scoring the first one at the end, or the last one first. It's just so clever. I really like this game. Darn it, sounds.
I've only played it once, and I remember thinking, I need to just play this again just to get my head around the fact that, like you're saying, play forwards to play backwards or whatever. So, yeah.
It's definitely one of those games where your first score is like 12 and then your second score is like 47. Do you know what I mean? Because you're like, I see what I did wrong. Like, I get it.
I did. And the thing is that it's only your own it's only your own incompetence that costs you, because you've got the cards in front of you. There's no requirement for you to turn your card over or things like that. Like, there's nothing in the rules that says, once a card's played, it goes face down. You have it all there. It's all open information for you. But, you just get so caught up in, this card's really good. Let me activate this card, that you totally forget that you needed 3 pineapples to activate the card that you put down prior to it. Like, it's so clever. I think this belongs in everyone's collection, because I don't think there's nothing, and when I say offensive, there's no mechanic in there that would annoy people, I don't think. Like, it's so simple and so clever. I think it would appeal to so many people. It definitely belongs in most people's collections. What do you think, Adi?
Yeah, it's also like super affordable, super thinky. It's super easy to learn once you've played it through once. It kind of ticks so many boxes for those sort of small box games. Yeah, it's great. Like, I really enjoyed playing it. I'd play it again in a heartbeat, and probably do terrible again, because it doesn't matter. It's so tight in the decision space to do well. doesn't matter probably if you played this 50, 60 times. Like it's hard. It is not easy. You don't breeze through the game and go, oh, nice, I've got 1,000 points. Like, I've got this stupid combo. Like, you'll do better, but not to the level of ridiculousness. So
it's short enough as well that you can just play 2 back-to-back as well, I reckon.
Yeah,
so
100%.
It's that kind of game, I think.
Yeah, and you are beholden to the cards that come out and what cards are left by the time it's your turn. So you might have all good intentions, and there may be 4 of these blue corally cards that come out that you want, but it doesn't mean that you'll get them. Or they might just not come out because you're not going to go through the whole deck. You're just not. Like, it's just not going to happen. And like I said, someone might pinch it before you. So, yeah, really good. Faraway by Pandasaurus Games. Pandasaurus, they've done such a good job for such a long time. They make great products, and there's very rarely a Pandasaurus game that I don't enjoy.
Well, I am about to talk about a game, and I feel excited, but I feel a sense of disloyalty talking about it, and that sounds really strange, probably. But it's Andromeda's Edge by Cardboard Alchemy. And so this is designed by Luke Laurie and Maximus Laurie, which is his son. And Luke Laurie designed Dwellings of Eldervale, which I'm not sure if either of you have played it. Sounds like you have. Now, this is as of December last year, Dwellings was my number 2 game of all time. So it had big shoes to fill. And I should say that I mainly played the retail edition, which was provided by VR Distribution, which was great. But Andromeda's Edge is sort of like it's meant to be the successor to Dwellings of Eldervale. Probably should say that at the outset that I really believe that this is better than Dwellings of Eldervale. It will definitely change my top 10.
But it definitely shares very similar DNA, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's
absolutely.
Dwellings 2.0, right? Essentially.
If you had played Dwellings, you would understand the mechanics a lot quicker because a lot of them are very similar. It's just got more to it. That's all. But I did actually back this game at the all-in level, but I've really just been playing with the retail edition, as I said, and I was sort of umming and ahhing about it because it's space, and space is sort of like, I could take it or leave it space. In this instance, and as I said, even though I'm not a themer, I think that this theme fits very well, and actually I think it fits better than potentially Dwellings of Eldervale. The way that they've set the game up, I think space, the space theme is actually very good. So for those people who don't know Dwellings of Eldervale, there's 12 factions, and like I said, this is the retail edition. The all-in edition has more factions, but the retail edition is 12 factions. You play one of those factions in Andromeda, and you're trying to build like a new civilization, and you start with a few basic ships. And during the game, you're going to be able to acquire resources and collect moons, build developments or buildings on planets, and then you can battle opponents and raiders, or formerly monsters, but they're called raiders. And hopefully you can rise to beat your opponents, to win the game. But it's really the basic mechanics of the game are worker placement and engine building. And it's a very, very good engine building game. And I love engine building, but that's, to me, where this game really shines. So you have a board laid out, and there are 5 tracks. Same with Dwellings of Eldervale, there were tracks as well. But so you've got science, industry, supremacy, commerce, and civilization, all in different colours. And then you've got an area which is called the Edge, where you're going to have a series of tiles. There's base tiles, and then there's planetary tiles. And the base tiles, when you land on them, will allow you to do an action. So it might allow you to draw tactics cards or build a ship. or build a development or something like that. And the planetary cards are there to be developed. And the developments will help you. It will help you in battle, but also give you extra ships during battle. So on your turn, you are going to just launch a ship, or you're going to return to station. That's your turn. And you take the action of where you are, or you get a resource, and then that's the end of your turn. And you keep taking turns until the score marker reaches a specific point, and then you all get one more turn. And what I really like about this game is they have 3 different levels, I guess. So they have a short game, medium game, and long game. I've actually only played it at the short. I think that is a good length in my view, but at least it gives you the alternative to have various different lengths of games.
I think that's super important. Board games now are so accessible for people. I think gone are the days where the expectation is sit down, you have to play a game for 3 hours or something like that. And judging by my plays of Dwellings, it can sort of, and I believe, is this right, Dana, that also has the same short, medium, and long? Does it have that in there as well, or is this new to Andromeda?
No, it doesn't have that.
Yeah,
no.
Right. So I think sometimes it can run a little bit long. So having that cut off to be like, nope, this is the end of this game, and you score it up and go. I think that's really important. It shows, I guess, growth from Luke Laurie as a developer.
Yeah.
I also like the opposite way. If I love the game, I'm happy to play it for 6 hours. I've got no problem with that. If everyone else is like, we all love this game, well, let's this is the game we're going to play for the day. I think it's a great option to be able to play it at a ridiculous length, almost like, Eclipse or TI or whatever, it's like a 5-hour game. I've got no problem with that if I'm enjoying the game.
But it sets up some really wonderful turns. And I'm going to go through after this what I think is better than Dwellings of Eldervale. But I love these turns where you can chain different things together. I don't know whether we call it combolicious or combo-tastic. I've lost track of what the combo name is.
Combo-tasticity, I believe, is the rating.
I can't even say that. Or whatever. Anyway, yeah. But as an example, you can launch a ship onto a base where you can buy a couple of modules to upgrade your action when you return to station. And when you buy a module, it sends you up like a certain track. And that track will give you when you go up that track, it'll give you a reward where you can upgrade one of your ships, and then you get a free ship as a result of that. And you also get to draw some tactics cards. And then you can, because your ship is within range of a raider that's on the board, it attacks you. And then you have a battle, and a few other people, your other opponents, can join into the battle, which is similar to Dwellings of Eldervale. But you've got a little bit more incentive to do that in this game. And then you're playing tactics cards and rolling dice. And it's just so exciting to have these turns, and the way that the tiles and what you can do on the tiles and the interaction with these tracks is amazing. It's awesome.
Is the combat system the same?
Yes.
So you just put the things in, and if you get a 6 and everyone else gets a 2, you're the winner if you only have one ship.
Yes, but they've added something to it. They've added this thing called targeting. So an example is, for every ship that you have in an active region, you will get a +1 targeting. Sometimes certain cards will give you additional targeting. And what that means is the higher the number, the higher your targeting number, you cannot roll beneath that number. So it allows you to re-roll your dice. So what that does as well is it also encourages people to bring their ships into a battle to do that. And I think that was a little bit lacking in Dwellings of Eldervale, and you didn't often have the chance to re-roll any dice. But here you can keep re-rolling until you get above a certain number based on your targeting. And I think that is awesome. It's brilliant.
I reckon that sounds like a really good way to make it a bit more deterministic. and be like, yep, no, it's definitely worth, like you said, moving my ships in, because probably, I know you said you're going to talk about why you like this or the differences between the two games. I think Dwellings was a very, very fun game, but the randomness that came from it almost worked against the Euro aspects that came with the game. I thought it didn't quite know what it wanted to be. I preferred one of Luke Laurie's other games in Whistle Mountain over.
Oh, I love that game.
Yeah, I thought that was
quirky.
Because it was
Cryo as well.
Yeah,
Cryo.
I thought that used that same implementation of play a worker, take a worker back, do those actions better, or not necessarily better. I just thought it suited the game a bit better, and the runtime of those games was much shorter than what Dwellings was for the randomness that Dwellings had.
I don't want to give the impression that this is a short game, because it's not. It's a lengthy game, and of course, I played it at 2, 3, and 4. But the retail edition only goes to 4 players, but it will take you a good couple of hours to 3 hours at least to play it, sort of thing. So it's not a short game.
That's the same for Dwellings, right? Dwellings takes like that. So
yeah, so it's not a short game, but I'm thankful that they've added the short, medium, long portion of it. I'm going to go through now. I probably haven't explained the game particularly well when I think about it, but I want to say what I love about it and why I think this is so much better than the original, even though I still love the original. What you used to do is you used to build dwellings on tiles. Like you'd have your little person and you put the little hat, the little roof onto it, and it would just be a dwelling. And here now there are different developments that you can build, and they will score based on depending on where you are on certain tracks. So also when you build a development, you get a card which will give you a one-time use action, which is some of them are very, very good. But it's just the fact that you've got so much variety in the different types of dwellings that you can build. And I thought that was great. It wasn't just getting points for adjacency, which you still get. You still get that now. You still get points for adjacency. But I just found that there was just so much variety in that portion of it. The tracks are a huge part. So in dwellings previously, you just would go up the tracks, and there wasn't really any reward for going up the tracks other than end of game scoring. Here, there are multiple little bonuses that you get as you go up the track. So it's kind of exciting, and it gives you a little bit more incentive to go up the tracks. Like the science is all about making your observatories score better, but you also get to choose these little science tokens which give you benefits, or there are other ones which will help you upgrade your ships by going up this track. So there's another track which is called the civilization track, and that will increase your hand limit for tactics cards, but also you'll be able to draw additional cards to get end of game scoring. It's just really, really fantastic. The tracks are like a really important part of this game, and I think that they were a little bit, ho-hum in the original game, but they've done a really good job at improving the tracks part of it. I love the fact that as well, like you used to play as a faction, if you recall, in Dwellings of Eldervale. You still do that. You still have a faction ability, but I really like it that you can upgrade each of your ships as well. So there are 4 different types of ships, and each player can upgrade those to get different asymmetric abilities on top of that as well. I think before you had 2 workers that had a different ability that you started with. Well, here you can upgrade all 4 ships if you like, and also those change from game to game because you get dealt those randomly.
Yeah, nice. Yep.
So I really like that as well. The tactics cards to me are better. I think in Dwellings of Eldervale, from memory, you had to pay to use the cards. I think you had to pay something to use the cards, where you don't need to do that in this. And the tactics cards can be quite beneficial in battle, and some cards you can just place it down and it will give you just a sustained ability until you return to station again. But the tactics cards are actually a very important part of the game. I'm not sure whether I could say that with Dwellings of Eldervale, whether they were that as well. It's the same thing. You can still use them as a resource. They're still considered a resource. So you can use them to pay for things. But
I remember in the version of Dwellings that I played, it had all of the fancy game trays, so it was much easier just to get it out onto the table. Does the retail version have something similar to that, or is it just baggies?
Baggies. But I'm going to talk about the retail edition at the end, so I'll come back to that. To me, the battle, I've already talked about that, is much better with the targeting. I think that gives you a little bit more chance of success and not just relying on a dice roll, because sometimes you can roll dice and it's just really rubbish, and you can have that the entire game and it's really crap. Whereas at least here you can focus on getting all your ships in. You can also spend a resource called energy to get additional dice, things like that as well. So I think the targeting is excellent. You can do repairs, so you can remove damage from ships and things like that, which what happened before is you would go into the underworld. You know, if you lost a battle, you would go into the underworld, and then you couldn't activate that worker when you did your return. You weren't able to use it. Well, here there's called a repair action. So when you lose a battle, you go to the scrapyard, but you can actually repair it and get it it's called the repair barge, and that will allow you to use that ship to activate on your return action. So I think that is very, very good. I like the fact that now we have event cards. So these event cards, so whenever you purchase a module or there's a specific symbol on a track, you'll move this little event tracker around, and that will determine when you get some mid-game scoring, and it'll also determine when another tile and another raider or monster comes out. But I really enjoy the event cards, and in the retail edition there's two decks. There's a deck which is very friendly, so it gives you good things, and there's a deck that is a little bit more challenging, which is more of a negative. And I play both, and I enjoy both. I enjoy both of them. Actually, we mix them together. It's probably not the ideal thing to do with the retail edition, only because they have different backs, but we mix them together anyway, even though they had different backs. But I really enjoy the event deck, and during the game, these event decks, when an event card is revealed, you'll do this mid-game scoring where you'll score a random track. You'll score your position on a random track, but you get some license over which card it's not all random, because there are certain times when you can look at the top two cards, pick one, put one on the top and put one underneath. So it's not like it's completely random and you don't know which track is being scored. Someone generally knows which track is being scored. So that's great. The raiders, I think, are pretty good. Like some of the raiders like have a swarming ability where you get four little, I'm terrible with this space language, but four little, I don't know, little thingies, whatever.
Like terminids. Like
yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes, they swarm in from different tiles, and they can attack you that way. And you basically can, when you beat them, you can only kill one of them. So it's going to take you 4 rounds pretty much to kill them. The rewards are pretty good, I feel, as well, when you do eventually get rid of them. This is, to me, the highlight of the game, the engine building part. What you do during the game is you buy modules. And so what you're doing is you're building up your station that you'll use in your return action. So when you bring your workers back, this is the highlight to me. These modules have got all sorts of different things that you can do. You can get resources, you can do repairs, you could build a development, you could pay tactics cards to go up a track. But there are you can end up with this whole tableau of modules, and activating these is just a thrill. it's an absolute thrill to be able to do this. That it makes that return the return action that you do so meaningful. What you do is you would place like your top line of modules. You need to have a ship placed on it, and then the whole row activates automatically. And normally in your top row, you'll get energy from it. And you need energy because energy will help you activate all your other modules. So every other line beneath that you're activating, or any other line of modules that you're activating, you need one ship, and the rest you can activate with energy. So as long as you're getting a good supply of energy, man, you can have some bumper turns like coming back to station. It's just amazing. It's really, really good. Plus, every time you build a module, you're going up these tracks, and it's giving you like end of game scoring. It's just so good. I really love it.
That actually sounds really cool, and it sounds a little bit like what he was using in Whistle Mountain, where when you bring back a particular ship, you would then activate the combos. And I remember, Adrian, you explaining Whistle Mountain to me as like crazy combos, and don't worry too much about trying to plan because the combos are so wild and crazy. It's hard to sort of figure out sort of who's going to win or whatever, just play through the game. I wonder, Dana, is it still a little bit too random for it to appeal to Eurogamers? What do you think?
I have heard that, or people have said that I played it with, that the battling side of things can be quite random because it just depends. You know, sometimes you can have a tactics card that says, okay, the battle ends, you know, move on, you know, and you don't get any benefit from it, and it's just random, and you can just have a lucky card. I haven't found that. I didn't find that an issue with me, and I like Euro games, and I've played it with a group of ladies who also like Euro games, and the whole engine building part is just, it really is consuming. For me, anyway, it's consuming. And actually, I couldn't stop thinking about it. When we played it the first time, we couldn't stop thinking about it. So we just left it on the table. We were on a weekend away. We just left it on the table. And then we got up the next morning. We said, oh, let's just play again. We go, okay. So, I mean, we just went and played again. And that is kind of unusual, I would say, for me with a space game. It's pretty unusual. And we've played it another 2 times since then. And they are so keen on this game. It is. I think it will appeal to Eurogamers, but there's randomness in it. There's randomness. The dice rolls are random,
which is fine. Like I've played plenty of games, miniature games in particular, where the dice rolls are random and you can mitigate as much as you want. That was probably, and again, something that I didn't mind too much about Dwellings, because it was a lot of fun and you felt like you had these cool moves, and it didn't matter if your piece was removed, because you would still get some benefit out of it generally by returning or whatever.
Yep.
I think that's something that people would be like, oh, a space game, and there's so many space games that are deterministic, and that whole miniature-based game, that I think people would be like, oh, no, this is still too random. Again, I'm totally going by Dwellings.
Yeah. The first game that I played, I did hear those comments about the tactics cards and the dice rolling, where you're sort of, you know, you're obviously just comparing the highest dice and things like that. But I didn't have a problem with it. I'm banging on too long, and I'm so sorry. But just with the retail edition, that's what I wanted to get to, Adrian. You mentioned about that. This has been a question that I've been wondering in my mind, because I have the all-in edition, and I obviously have this retail edition as well from VR. The retail edition is actually really good. There's a lot of value to me in this game. It's basically, the all-in edition is twice the size in terms of the box. It's twice the size. The minis are very detailed. They're very beautiful. They're washed, and it's certainly lovely. It takes up a lot of room. It takes up a lot of room. It's a real table hog. And the retail edition, in some ways, in some ways, it just alleviates that table hog sort of thing. It's just not quite so big. So the components are actually really very good. I mean, they're all cardboard, but it's good cardboard. It's not, it doesn't feel cheap to me. Yes, you're storing it in bags. There's nothing in there. There's no storage solution in there. But I didn't find that a problem. And I've been tossing up whether I should sell the all in and just get a retail edition for myself type thing. I think it's very good value. But I will just say this, the retail edition doesn't have a solo mode in it. So if that was your thing, you need to get the more expensive edition.
Interesting.
And it has you get an additional event deck in the all-in. You also get 6 additional factions. So there is a little bit more to it, but I do believe that for the amount of times that I've played the game, and I've played it several times now, I haven't even actually used my own all-in edition. I've used the retail edition and it's been fine. So I think it's actually very good value. So, yeah. Anyway, Andromeda's Edge, I don't know if I've done it justice here, but it's really worth trying. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
This rivals Def's analysis of, Arcs and ISS Vanguard and Pendragon in the past.
I don't want to compare it to that because it's not that.
Yeah, I know.
It's not that. But to me, this has a broader appeal. That's what I would say. The people that I've been playing with, and I've been playing it with people who have played Arcs and all those other things, but I've also been playing it with people who play Creature Comforts and Obsession and games like that. And everybody has loved this game. So, that says something about it to me. So, yeah, Andromeda's Edge. So what have we got coming up? It's exciting times. We've got the Sydney Board Game Barbecue Game Day on the 2nd of November at Castle Hill RSL. 75% of the tickets are already sold, so get in quick before it sells out. We've also got the Brisbane Game Day, which is on the 16th of November, so don't forget that. And save the date for PlayCon. I'm so excited about PlayCon, 11th to the 13th of July. It's miles away, and I am so freaking excited about it. It's going to be so good. Oh, man, the high that I had from that was better than any drug. Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, but the low I had the following week, that was no good. I was in a deep, dark place.
Yeah, it was very depressing after. There was a period of depression, but oh, God, that was so good. I can't wait. Anyway, so to get tickets, remember to head on to Eventbrite. So our question of the pod from last week was, when was the last time you forgot the rules to a favourite game?
Before I read out the responses, I was corrected by Kim Brayback, who is Good Games Publishing, so works for them, because in Unfair, which I love and I've played a buttload of times, I didn't realise that the event cards that you could play added to your hand limit. And he was like, are you some sort of crazy masochist? Like, the way that you're playing this game is like, that's unbelievable. Like, how did you even get like a score? Because with these event cards, you can store them. If you stored them up, you could just play these massive turns and like, oh my God. So I was like, yeah. And I think I went on Discord, or it might have been on Facebook, and I put up a picture of saying how I really enjoyed it. And I found out that I was playing the game wrong. And Kim's like, you clown, you absolute clown. So yes, Kim, I've played it properly ever since, and it's been much better. So that was my one of it. 80, did you talk about this last week? Did you mention the time that you
it was me that realised that I just forgotten the rules to Clans of Caledonia and Darwin's Journey and a bunch of other games that I was playing online against somebody else, and just made a buffoon of myself. But that's neither here nor there. So
I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but my worst one was I taught Kutna Hora at our local game group, and I'd been playing it wrong. It was so embarrassing. And like, I got the fact that at the end of the game, you calculate your income and then divide it by 10 and score that. Well, I took income as the amount of money that you have. So everybody towards the end of the game was just getting money. Was just getting money, and we had like hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and we were scoring these massive points. And I just thought, oh, for God's sake! And it took, I think it was Ben Todd that was there, and he said, no, that's actually not what that means.
Ben. Love it. What you need to be like our buddy Harry and have your iPad set up with all your rules.
Oh, I know.
Go through.
Yeah.
Excellent. So good. I think he thinks I'm giving him a hard time, but whenever I bring up Harry with his iPad and teaching, it's so good and so smart. But then he does put his glasses on and sort of goes, well, I'm like, you would fit in the teaching field, Harry. You'd be such a good teacher.
I have to agree with the digital versions of the rule books. They are fantastic because if, as an example, with the Elder Scrolls, sometimes I need to look up a reference word, right? And that reference word is buried in the text, deep in the text. It's like finding the Balrog, do you know what I mean? And I'm like,
delve too deep.
They have delved well deep in this rule book. And I just type in the word, and there's like 14 references. And then I can go click, click, click. This is the one that I need. And it just brings up that rule rather than having to scan through the book and the book, like page after page. And it's great. Harry, iPad all the way, brother.
Yeah.
Actually, I have seen him with, it was a phone. And I thought, what is he doing on the phone? Like, why is he teaching the game from the phone? And now I understand why he's doing that. Yeah. It's very smart.
Yeah. He's a clever man.
Yeah.
But we had a couple of responses from a few of our community. So from Jeff E. Bullard, he said, forget rules all the time. What's worse? I remember, and he's got his little air quotation, remember rules from another game, think they're part of the current game with confidence. Yes. So I think that's just part and parcel. Like the more games you know, the more they cross over, especially if they're similar. No, is that scoring for that one? No, that one. Yeah. Is that scoring for Guide Project or is it for...
It's always with train games and routes and how scoring and routes work. Like, because you're like, oh no, in this game you don't score those. And you're like, oh, what? Like, in all the other games you do.
And you do play. Luke Laurie, of all people, Dana, and Matt Aslan. I forget rules in games I design. So Matt Aslan, of course, local Melbourne-based. Well, he's probably saying he's Phillip Island. Jess Ewing said, immediately after playing, James has to teach me, that's her husband, if you didn't know, James has to teach me how to play a game every time we sit down to the table, no matter how many times I have played. It's like my brain is a sieve, or sieve. Yes, don't worry. I am also guilty of that. Can I have a refresher, please? Please, Def, can you please teach me the rules of Guide Project one more time, even though I've played it 50 times with you? And then Jess Rochelle says, pretty much every day and every time I go to play a game, there are too many rules to keep in my head, so I always need a refresher session before I play a game again. And yes, I think that's why when I talk about people who can teach games and they are able to teach games, the whole game, and in a way that doesn't break flow and all that top stuff, why I'm so impressed. Because I can't do that. I have to refer back to the rule book, and I feel terribly embarrassed. And one of those things where if someone was teaching me the game and had to refer back to the rule book, I wouldn't be embarrassed for them. I'd be like, yeah, that's totally understandable. But when it's me, I'm like, oh my God, I've done such a poor job. But I'm
stress, sweats. Oh no.
Yeah.
That is so true, Connor.
Get me another ice cream.
That is so true. Ice creams. Sometimes when I teach a game, I actually preface it by saying, look, I'm sorry. I may need to refer to the rule book. I'm really sorry. And I apologise for referring to the rule book. But yeah, I just feel bad. Even though when other people do that, it's fine. I honestly don't mind. But for me, I feel bad.
I think in the early days, it might have been a discussion topic. Adrian, you might have been a part of. I think with Mike or something like that. I said that's the one reason I hate teaching games, especially to people who I'm not familiar with, because everyone knows I don't mind making a buffoon out of myself, but I don't like to do it when it's taking up other people's time. Like that's one thing. They sat down to play a game. They want to play the game and not have to go back, oh, I forgot that rule, forgot this rule or whatever. So yes, no, it's been well documented, my anxiety around teaching games as well. But I'm happy to introduce the next question of the pod, Dana, if you're happy for me to do that. So you talked about Captain Sonar. What do you guys think? And you mentioned your thoughts on Captain Sona, and myself and Adrian have as well. What do you think about real-time games? So if you're not aware of what that is, it's rather than I sit down and have my turn and no one else is involved, the game does not stop. So effectively you're under a time constraint. There might be timers involved. There could be something along the lines of, well, we're doing it in time, and the time constraints of the game is something that you have to work within the game with. Real-time games, there's lots of them on the market. The one that I can remember playing the most recently, aside from Captain Sonar, was Pandemic Rapid Rush, and that's a dice rolling game, and that gets pretty hectic, and again, you're yelling at people because you're working together and trying to roll things and trying to get the symbols, and you're blaming your brother for not rolling the right symbols, even though you didn't roll the right symbols yourself. Families, huh?
Oh, I'll tell you what, real-time games are great for playing the blame game. I'll tell you what. But the last real-time game I played, other than Captain Sonar, was Skyrockets, with the timers,
yes,
where you're playing cards and you're turning timers. And actually, I really like that. I would say overall, I don't particularly like real-time games, funnily enough. You wouldn't think that based on my Captain Sonar experience, but I enjoy them if they're reasonably short.
I'd say Captain Sonar's a bit on the longer side of it. Like
It is, yeah.
And it's thematically correct, so it works, and it works in that environment. I wouldn't want to play Paku Paku like that. It's a weird one, right? Because I actively don't buy them, right? I actively do not buy real-time games. However, all of the ones I've played, I've enjoyed. Isn't that strange? Like,
yes.
It's like MJ bought Paku Paku. I didn't buy it because I was like, I'll hardly play it. But it's great. I really enjoyed playing it, and Finn loves it. And it's great to play with his friends as well, because they don't play other sort of more complex board games. They're newer to the sort of hobby. Yeah, I don't know why that is. I think I don't like the pressure of a lot of them sometimes. I've sort of spoken about that briefly earlier. I don't enjoy the pressure when there's games that are word games with a timer. 99% of the times it doesn't get used unless the other team has AP'd for about 15 minutes. Then you go, right, I'm getting the timer out, and it's like a threat. Like it becomes a threat. I know that's not a real-time game, but like it's, I don't play Codenames with the timer religiously because I think that spoils the game. I think it's better to have more thinky of a word game.
Yeah.
However, like I said, I've enjoyed many games that have been real-time games. I just don't personally buy them.
If you have a look at Fit to Print, it has a real-time element, but that's not all of the game. It's just got a portion of it, and that's fine. I love Fit to Print.
I think co-op games like Magic Maze and stuff where it's cooperative and I'm being relied on, I don't enjoy those as much because I am always the one getting looked at. Like, how do you not see it? I personally, I'm not that upset about it, but like I said, I just don't pick them as a purchase personally. They'd have to be pretty special.
So let us know your thoughts on real-time games in the socials and on Discord. So guess what?
What?
We've got 2 new Patreons.
Woo!
Wow, thank you.
So thank you to Jimmy Bose and Melissa Gross. So thank you very much for your support. We really appreciate it. We couldn't do it without you. And while we are on the thank yous, if you want to support this podcast, you can always join up as a Patreon like Jimmy and Melissa did. You get exclusive access to podcast episodes that we record just for you. There are plenty of ways to support the podcast, though, without donating. And the easiest way is just to tell other people about it. That's actually been the best way for us to spread the word about our podcast, is just through word of mouth. So if you can tell a few people and they tell a few people, we'd really appreciate it. You can also go to Apple Podcasts and leave a star rating and a review on Spotify's new star rating system as well. If you don't want to do all that, we would all love to see just you join in with the community on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, or on YouTube. Just get involved. Also, we have a fantastic Discord, just give it a go, because Discord is fantastic. It's just such a friendly environment. So please give it a try.
I'll just quickly talk about Discord because I love our Discord community. I've said before, it's almost like a second home for me sometimes, chatting with the people who I've met in person, some people I didn't meet in person, and then I met them and I've become really close friends. I've gone to sporting events with some of the people I've met. I've gone and hung out with them outside of board game events and all that type of stuff. So in particular, if you're keen on playing games, there's games running. We've got rooms that you can play them in. Adrian talked about Overwatch before. We don't just play board games in our game rooms. You're free to come in and chat. Sometimes we even stream the games we're playing as well. And Def has just started. So Def, our really good friend, has just started streaming some of his plays of games, and he even has been playing games with other people. So if you're keen, jump on board and not only support us, but you can support a friend in Def as well.
That's on Twitch. Twitch, isn't it? It's on Twitch. Yeah.
We even have people in the community that we can rely on for such random questions.
Yeah.
I watched a true crime documentary today and they were talking about a North Alabama soda, which was called Sundrop.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jameis, Sundrop, talk to me. Is it good? Do I need to get some? Because I want to try it. I would assume it might be like a poor man's Mountain Dew. Because it's a citrus drink. It looks like a detergent from the label. But hey, these are the kind of antics and fun that people have in there. And it is brilliant. So
it's very, very friendly. It's not just about board games. You can talk about other things as well. So it's really wonderful. So, yeah. So we got to get fired up now.
What was that?
It's the fired up. That's the fired up.
Dying by fire has now become my least preferred way to go after hearing that sound.
So what we do when we're fired up, we talk about something that is exciting us or that we're on a high or that we're looking forward to in the coming weeks. So, Adrian, what are you looking forward to?
I got so many things, right, that aren't even board game related, but I'm excited to keep watching The Penguin. I've been watching The Penguin. It's amazing. I highly recommend it. Brilliant. Colin Farrell, amazing. Potentially play a game on the aeroplane with you because we're going to PAX together. We might be able to play a game on the plane, and I won't have to feel so weird about asking the stranger next to me. I'll leave that to you.
And you'll know, and you'll remember how to spell desert. Is it desert and dessert?
Desert and dessert. Yeah, that's never going to happen. I'm 40 and I still can't do that.
Hey, I got a tip to remember this. Ready?
Go.
Ready? So in dessert, you want extra. So there's an extra S. In the desert, there isn't enough, so there's only one S.
Ah, that's very good.
Yeah, yep.
Now I have to remember that entire thing to remember that. It's just, I'll try. Okay, I'll see how we go.
Just remember 2 ice creams. That's how you can remember 2 ice creams.
That's it. No, and just, I said it last week, just hanging out at PAX, playing some games and doing some, antics there will be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So.
What about you, Connor?
You sort of mentioned PAX. So, again, I'm really stoked about PAX. I love hanging out with our community and, of course, catching up to you guys. On a non-board game, a little segue. So, the new expansion for Diablo 4 releases this week. I'm going to have to not play it to go to PAX. That's okay. I can deal with that. So, that's going to be good fun. But as part of PAX, I mentioned, I think I'm going to delve in. I think I'm going to do it 80. I'm going to come home with some Lorcana decks. So, I'm keen. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I know we don't do odes anymore, and I was the main person to want to get rid of them, but I'm sort of doing it.
First one back on that train.
But I am. So I'm excited to play some more Lorcana and to grab some decks and then maybe
when you buy those, please do the hashtag #OFulfilled rather than fired up, because I'll just laugh.
I thought he hated it. What's going on? Yeah.
I'd actually like to try and jump into the Magic the Gathering drafting or some painting and stuff while I'm there as well, because there's so many little mini activities going on that I think that would be really good fun. Just trying to jump and like the design, the TGDA area with the board game designers and stuff there. Just try and play a heap of those games because there's so much on offer there. Yeah, I mean, we played that game last year. It was great. Well, I actually played a bunch, but that word game that we played was fantastic.
And
Really enjoyed that, so-
Didn't you play this? You played the Sixth Realm at PAX, didn't you? Isn't that where you played it? The one that was
No.
Yes, no, I did. That's right. I did.
you did. I'm
Because
sure you
I
did.
caught up with the lads at South by Southwest. So yes,
Yeah.
I definitely played the Sixth Realm at PAX.
Yeah.
So there's some great games there. I can't wait. Yeah. It's gonna be sick.
Well, of course I'm excited about PAX. It's a bit boring because I'm excited about PAX too, of course. Adrian and I traveling together on the plane. So that's going to be interesting. And we're also going to be staying in the same house with Joe. So I'm going to get to see their personal habits, which could be interesting. But I'm really looking forward to, we have a Patreon breakfast on Saturday. We had a Patreon function at PlayCon, which I really enjoyed. And I'm really looking forward to meeting some of the Melbourne folk because I don't get a chance to see them. And I love, because I'm on social media a lot, I love putting a face to a name. And so I can't wait to meet the people that I've been communicating with, over social media. It's going to be really awesome. And we've got some T-shirts to give out and I'm really excited about it. Yeah. It's going to be great. So that's it. We've come to the end of another episode. I'm a little bit sad, actually. I'm a little bit sad. Oh, yeah. Connor's giving the drinking symbol.
He did it first, just so we all took our record. He did it first.
You can't drink. You've got school tomorrow. You need to get up early. You can't drink.
Thank God for that. Maybe I need a drink to get rid of the stress. No. Plenty of that next week.
Yeah.
You might be able to bend my arm.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dana.
Great episode.
Yes,
and talk to you soon.
Yeah. See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.